Hi, this is Brian from Paradise Arcade Shop. We wanted to show the installation of the LVT3 and a Mad Catz TE2 stick. There were some comments online about how it's probably difficult, and it's actually quite the opposite. It's a very easy, straightforward installation. What we've done here is I've just opened up a TE2 stick and put the parts that we're going to use for the LVT3 right here, and then we've got the board over here and the screws up there. One of the things that is nice to note, and Mad Catz did a great job of making a very moddable stick, is that you just open up the front of the case and everything's right here. You also have all of your colors labeled here for buttons, which will become very handy in a second. So the first thing we need to do is the standard case comes with, if you look here, standard black and gray buttons, which are great, but don't allow light to travel through. So we're going to pop these off. The latest version of the Mad Catz stick actually has these little quick release things, so you just push the near end of the disconnect and it pops right off the button, so you don't have to pull that hard. The original versions of the TE2 stick didn't have this feature, so you may need to actually pull kind of hard, but you can see the tabs pull off quickly. As I pointed out before, there's a little diagram showing you what colors go with which buttons, so you don't really need to worry about labeling this as you pull it off. It's already labeled right inside the box. It's one of the great things Mad Catz did to make this really easy to mod and put back together. So sorry, I'm just which side I need to hit here. There we go. There's a little tab inside of these, and when you hit it, they just literally slide right off. So one more. Alright, now we've got our harness out. We can actually take this off of the board there. We're going to get back to this in a minute. Next thing up, we need to pop our buttons out. To do this, I'm going to turn the stick sideways so I can get both sides. And you just push the tabs here and they pop right out. If you're at EVO, which was a lot of fun this year, you got to see Clayton and myself, Susan, Victor of Vico Mods, and Gummo and Ducky all having a great time doing a lot of button swaps. So one thing to note about the TE2 buttons is they have this little plastic ring. You're going to need this. You don't need these buttons. Unfortunately, the sandwall buttons, when you take them out, sometimes little tabs break. So keep the buttons themselves because they're valuable for micro switches, but putting them in and out a few times sometimes breaks these little tabs on the side, which makes them hard to use again. I think I broke two of the buttons. The tabs broke. So we'll do this bottom row here. Probably from me manhandling them a little too much. There's one, and you just pop the rings off as you go, or pop them off at the end. I'm going to show you why that's important in a second. So here we've got all the buttons out of our TE2 stick, almost. Spoke too soon. So all the buttons are out of our TE2 stick. We have all of the rings taken off, set down in our container here, and now we just need to replace them. If you look at the top of the stick, it's empty. The reason you need these little rings is so that the buttons sit up flush with this plexi. They act as a spacer between the metal panel and the plexi. If you don't put them in there, the buttons will sit a little low. So all you do is you just take these, slide them right back onto the new buttons, then you can pop these back in your holes. When we were at EVO, we actually gave this to one of the Mad Catz guys to install into his stick, and he insisted on not having any instruction and was able to do this relatively quickly in between watching other matches and things. So the installation is actually pretty straightforward. The cables, which we're going to go over in a second, are for the most part keyed so that you can't mess up what direction you put the buttons in. The power cable, which is not present on the TE2 stick to start, but is on the Killer Instinct version, is also keyed, so it can only go in one direction. Now that you have all those buttons in here, what we can do is we can pull out our LVT3 board here. So the LVT3 board mounts right up here on the screw terminals that are, or the posts that are set from the original LED board. If you have a Killer Instinct version, you just need to pull the old board off and replace it with this one. You'll need to pull the old board off before doing removing the buttons. It's a lot easier. Because of the difference in LEDs here, they're slightly higher than the native ones. You have to add little acrylic washers to this to space it off the actual stick. Give it a little bit of extra height here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here up in this corner. I'm going to put this plate on here. Standard hex drive screws. If you have a Killer Instinct version, you can just pull your board off there, or pull your screws off there and use them. All the kits will come with the washers included and the screws, so if you lose the screws from your Killer Instinct version, you don't have to worry. There's 4 screws total. Get them all in here. Okay, now we're just going to tighten these down. That's about the hardest part of the whole installation. The rest of this is really straightforward. Actually, we'll do the next one more thing that's a little bit difficult, not too difficult. The only piece that you actually have to take out of the kit that's not made to be modded naturally is this plastic case down here. Now if you have a Killer Instinct version, there's 2 screws here for the non-Killer Instinct version. But if you have a Killer Instinct version, you'll already have a power cable going up to your light board. That can be used for the LVT3. On the native model of the stick, you don't have this cable in place, but if you look right here, there's a header for it. Luckily, our kit comes with the header supplied. Just pass it down through. And then this is a little bit of a juggling act. You kind of got to squeeze your fingers in here. Plug it in, pull it tight, set it back down. That's done. Now you have power grabbed from the Mad Catz Xbox One board. It is important to note that while there are PS4 versions of this stick available in Japan, the LVT3 is specifically designed for the circuitry that's on the Xbox One board. It is not designed for the PS4 version at this time. So now we have our power. We simply come up here and we plug it right into the LVT3 board. Step 1 is done. You have your joystick coming off here, your port going to your joystick here. So you unplug that and you come over and plug this into connection 4 on the LVT3. You then take the cable supplied with the LVT3, plug that into the joystick port, and plug that into the joystick. So now what we've done is we've connected power in our joystick. Now we just have to do the buttons. We'll do the easy one first. You take the cable that's supplied to you, okay? And we plug that into the LVT3, into the Mad Catz board. There's an 8-pin connector that goes down, and then a 5x2 connector. So it's 8x2 down there, 5x2 up here, and you plug this in up top. Now the reason we did this is so that you don't mess this up with the buttons. So this is a slightly different sized connector up here. Plugs directly in. All of the connections are the same. Now you just plug the buttons back in. So you plug this into the port on the board labeled buttons, and then you just follow your guide here. We've got a few wires in the way now, but it's pretty simple. And what's nice about this is Mad Catz was actually really smart about this. They did this in the direction you're looking at it. So all you have to do is follow it. Black, brown, purple, blue. So black in the top left. So just pop, pop. Brown is the next one. Purple. You want to try and take it so that these wires aren't completely twisted up as you're going. And blue down the end. Might have been easier if I started on my bottom row, but I did not. So then we're going to take red back to the beginning. The red and the orange are tangled up here, so let's just untangle them quickly. And you're going to pop red. Orange. Green. And then yellow. That's it. So now you've got a stick that's fully wired for the LVT3. You can zip tie these together if you'd like, clean it up a little bit, hide your wires. Over here you actually have the 5-pin port for an RGB LED on the ball top, and you have the end of channel 1, which is the button and ball top channel. So you can add LEDs to this spot here, but we'll close this guy up and we're ready to play. That's it. If you have any questions, please get in touch with us. I'm Brian with Paradise Arcade Shop. Thanks for watching.